one. What's
What's
up,
up,
guys?
guys?
Welcome to the podcast. We are in the third episode for the year 2023, and we're coming back hot.
Let's go, guys. So, last year, we started out our podcast with one about marriage. We're coming back. Daryl, how long have you been married now?
Fake. No. August, September, October, November, December. 6 months, baby.
There
Let's
you
go.
Don't forget that. Wife will kill you.
Dude, honestly, my math's so bad. I'm only remembering like the year. So if I know it's August, I know it's a year being married.
Yeah, that's good. At least you can remember the
Yeah, I
year.
remember the year and the date,
Yeah.
obviously.
But yeah, guys, so we're coming back. We're going to talk about some of the things with marrying people from another culture, some intercultural marriage stuff. Because I married a Tongan girl,
And I'm married to well, my wife is she's half South American and she's half Aboriginal, but we're both from Malaysia. But we are also two different tribes, so that's why we're talking about it.
Yep. So, guys, let's start out good. Basically, a lot of us, we like to find, or we have our own taste, really. So, we find people that mix well with us and our personality wise, and sometimes that isn't always from people of our same nationality, our same race, same culture. So, for me, turned out my wife and I, we melded really well in terms of personality, which helped bring us together pretty close. Worked out pretty good. But of course, as per every single marriage, there's always a few struggles, and culture is definitely something that's pretty different with that. So for me, I grew up in mainland US my entire life, mostly in Utah and a little bit in southern Florida, and then moved out here to Hawaii for college. And that's where I met my wife, who's sitting on the couch over there, which is why I keep looking over there.
She's the only audience we have today.
Yeah, I'm hoping that she doesn't beat me up after what I say, but but basically, guys, like there's always some interesting things about culture that come into play when you're in a marriage. So for me, I have my background. She has her background where she grew up on a little island called Vava'u in Tonga, and out there, totally different way of life, totally different way of thinking, but it all works out in the end, basically.
Yeah, I think in most cases where in life, right, a lot of people they always have a little bit they're pretty skeptical when it comes to like marrying someone from a different culture.
Yeah,
That's what Lennon said when he's from mainland Utah and then marrying someone from like the islands, right?
yeah,
And so sometimes with that culture, you might be skeptical of like, oh, how do I make it work? And so that's something that we want to talk about today because I find that just because you're two different cultures doesn't mean that you don't have anything in common. Doesn't mean that you can't make it work. I
yeah.
feel that a lot of people have this fear of making it work that they're just marrying someone from their own culture because of the fear of change and the fear of wanting to make adjustments.
Yeah, exactly. It's like first you got to find a few things that you have in common with the person. That's with all marriages. If you don't have anything in common with your wife or whoever your spouse is, probably not going to work out too well. So find things that are in common, and also don't be afraid of the challenges. Oftentimes that's some of the things that will push you to become even better. So for me personally, marrying my wife, I've gotten to experience a lot more of indigenous culture in the Pacific, where I've gotten to go out. I've visited her family in Tonga. I've taken my little daughter out there, and I had a blast. I've started to learn the language, which is hopefully not too hard. I'm getting there. We're
And
practicing.
he's also taking Tongan class in school, so that's
Yeah.
dedication.
So it's like I'm trying to go out of my way to learn and experience her culture because obviously she's already here in America, so she's basically being baptized by fire into American culture, I feel. So I feel like I need to put in that equal effort and try and match that with her and be able to learn and understand her culture, and through that I'm able to better understand her perspective on different things in life.
And adding on to that, the second point we want to talk about is that there's actually more commonalities than you would have guessed.
Yeah.
I find in most culture, we all almost have the same values, like no matter where you're from. So a little bit background about me. So my dad's from mainland US and my mom's Chinese. And my wife, her mom is from a country called Guyana. It's near Venezuela, in South America. And then her dad is Aboriginal from Malaysia, the east part. Small village called Long Bedian. And so that's where our dad's from. And so, as you can tell, we are very, very diverse, very, very different when you think about it. Like mainland US, Aboriginal, South American, a lot of different things. But we have a lot of things in common. For example, We believe in respecting people's privacy. Obviously, that's like a general thing. But when it talks about culture, like we respect in terms like you always gotta respect your elderly. Number one. Number two is you gotta respect each other's belief or standards. As for example, whatever is theirs, you don't just assume that it or because you're friends you can do whatever you want. But we respect their privacy because it's their privacy,
Yeah.
and you respect their boundaries. I respect my boundaries. Things like that. I feel like that things really brought us close together because we have a lot of things in common that helps us to bridge the whatever differences that we have in our cultures.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to find all those common occurrences. And next, I feel like it's important to make sure that you guys at least share some of the same viewpoints also. Like Daryl was saying, like he shares that viewpoint of like respecting each other and their privacy and everything about that. So for me, I feel like I grew up in a fairly conservative home, I would say, where it's basically my dad would go out, he was a breadwinner. My mom stayed home, she took care of me and all my siblings. And that's just how I grew up. Life worked out that way. And that's kind of how I want my marriage to be, where I go out, I'm the breadwinner. I'm okay if my wife wants to work. But right now, she's staying home, she takes care of our baby and does whatever she really wants. So I wanted to make sure that our cultures and our viewpoints kind of melded in that aspect, where that's very traditional in Tongan culture also, where the mom may stay home and take care of all the kids because they have a lot of siblings. My wife's siblings, she has 9 other siblings right now, which is just that's a big family right there. So it takes a lot. Mom stays home, that's her full-time job basically, and dad goes out to the farm, works, make sure that he provides for the family. So that's something that worked pretty well out for us, where it combined pretty easily in terms of that viewpoint and our culture and our beliefs as we built our marriage together.
Hmm. And adding on to that, I feel like with that it helps you to like bring you closer together. When you really just work things out.
Yeah.
I think the second thing we want. Well, it's not second. I don't know. I think I'm lost in how many points we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges I feel like that might occur when you marry someone from different cultures is the upbringing that you guys have.
Yeah.
Like sometimes may come in a way. For example, in the Chinese culture, um, usually like I know in American culture that when you're about 18, you get to freak out of the house.
Yeah.
Like when you're
You
18,
get out.
yeah, once you're done high school, like see ya later, alligator. But
Yeah.
In Asian culture, it's actually different. In Asian culture, you actually only leave the house when you have a stable job and you have a house and you have a car.
Wow.
When you have all of that, then you move out. Like that's when like okay, you are pretty good, you're set. Okay, now you can leave. Like, but if you don't want to, hey, you can always stay back. They don't believe in like when you reach the age you should get out of the house. It's more
Yeah.
like they'll wait till you're actually stable and then you go out.
Yeah.
And so when I got married, a lot of my friends back home they asked me, Drew, what the frick you getting married like 22? I got married at 22. In Asian culture, normally about an average people get married at 26.
Really.
Like you gotta have money, you gotta have a car, you gotta have a house before you get married. Like you gotta be stable enough before you take someone in. And so that's the culture. And for me, I don't really believe in that. That's why I kind of like escape that culture
Yeah.
because I find that everybody's different. Obviously that's what the culture believe, but I always feel like you can change it. And for my wife, like it's different from her culture as well. But then at the end of the day, it's about making it work despite the challenges. Like challenges will arise, especially with the way of upbringing, but you can always change that and make it work.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot about communication, working together with your spouse. Because oftentimes, I bet almost 99.99% of all of those challenges are from a miscommunication. Whether that's you not understanding her full perspective in terms of a cultural thing or something like that, or maybe you're doing something that is just not okay for her. And sometimes you just need to talk it out and figure out what's actually happening. So I feel like that's really important in terms of coming closer together in terms of that marriage. Where, for example, in Tongan culture, you support the family. It's like you stay home with mom and dad, and all of the siblings, all of the boys, they go out and work, and then they give all the money back to mom and dad. Mom and dad, in turn, take care of the entire family. And even once you leave the house, you still bring money back to mom and dad to make sure that they're taken care of, that they have everything that they need. That's kind of opposite in America. In America, you leave at 18, like Daryl was saying, and you start building your life on your own. You don't go back. You don't ask mom and dad for help. They don't ask you for help generally. Of course, there's a bunch of different scenarios where things may occur, but that's the general stereotype, I guess, for Americans. So that's a really big, like, not necessarily pain point, but very big difference in terms of our two cultures and how we mix together. So we've had to compromise, work together, and most importantly, communicate on how those things work together. And now we're able to not only support her family a little bit, but also continue to support our own family and build ourselves up in this new land.
Yeah, I think it all goes back to working your way together despite your differences. I
Yeah.
feel like that's advice to like those who are dating someone from a different culture or wanting to experience different culture in terms of like dating life. Do not let this the challenge or of people say disadvantage to stop you from wanting to marry someone or date someone from a different culture, because I feel like I don't think there's any challenge out there that is not fixable. I believe that it's always
Exactly.
fixable. You just gotta put in the work in terms of the understanding. Like for me, I'm actually heading back to Malaysia um for the holidays, and I'm actually going back to the village where her father grew up and where my wife kind of grew up for a bit before she moved on to like the bigger city. And so I want to be able to understand her better, but I find that if you were to take the opportunity and the initiative to understand her culture, you're actually increasing your relationship. You are,
Yeah.
yeah, I just find it brings your relationship to the next level when you understand who she is, understand her family, her culture. It really brings you even closer together.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It's like, honestly, no challenge is not able to be overcome for the most part in
Through
terms
that,
of intercultural marriages. Like, honestly, a lot of these problems you'll face whether you marry inside of your same culture or outside of the
that's
culture.
true.
It's more so, did you find somebody that fits your personality, that you truly love, that you want to take care of, and that you see your future with? So it's all about that future outlook. And then from there, you build up those little things where maybe you learn more about their culture, you learn more about their background and their personality and how things work together. And then you guys can come to those same conclusions and build your family together. So overall, I think that's really important.
And to summarize everything that we have said, it's all about really understanding that there is no borders that should stop you from being able to take the effort or to go out of the way to make it work.
Yeah.
Because I've been married for 6 months. Landon's been married for about too long,
Yeah, 2.5 years.
2.5 years. um, and so we have challenges. Even though I got married 6 months, we have challenges. I'm sure Landon has challenges in the 2.5 years too. But like you said, it's all about being able to understand that you can change it. You
Yeah.
can change the stereotype, and just because you grew up in a certain way doesn't mean that it has to stay that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's like a taboo that you cannot escape the stereotype that's been put upon your culture. I feel like culture is just like a standards that you've been raised with in like with certain type of people. Like for Chinese culture, this is what they believe in, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean like that's a set way of life. Because like there is no set way of life for you to be happy or for you to run your life. Like you can always change that, just whether you want it or not.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, that's basically all that we got for you today. If you like this, like, comment, subscribe. If you find the one because of this, go out.
Give us credit.
Yep, we did it for you.
Yeah. So
Just
this is
kidding.
Daryl.
This is Landon. Peace.
Peace.